Shirt show. All right, let's go.
Shirt show! Talking shirt! Shirt show! Talking shirt! Shirt show! Talking shirt! Shirt show! Shirt man!
All right, episode 251 of Shirt Show. We're talking with Brandon and John from Twine Graphics in Tennessee. Let's go!
Hey guys, if you're new here, my name's Dylan. I am the owner of Upstate Merch and the host of the Shirt Show podcast. My guest host today is Seth Woodruff from R&S Printing. Super fun guy. We did an episode with him a long time ago and learned all about his shop and how he used to be a stunt man and then turned into a screen printing shop. And they really focus on like high-end design as far as like they do a lot of that stuff of like a fishing, like a fish coming out of water, and it's like this whole like thing. It's very specialized. They do some great work. So I really wanted to have him on today with our other guests, which was Twine. Brandon and John came on and they were amazing. Again, the focus of a lot of today's episode is on sim process printing. So both of these guys do a really amazing job at that. So we got to really dive into sim process printing and it was great. Some other stuff we got into is how you can be, good at sales and great at art and then focus your customer service and everything around that rather than just selling screen printing services. So it's more of a niche market and, gets people to really want to dive deep into what it is that you do. Another thing we talked about is how they have a retail store, and their retail store is really a push for their screen printing because it shows off what they can do and people can come in and feel things and see the artwork and really want to work with them. And they're in like a really great community that is, a very popular area to be in. Today's episode wouldn't be possible without our partners. Frank. It all starts with a screen. It's called screen printing for a reason. Whether it's new stretches or restretches, Frank and his team do it the best. Stop wasting your precious press time and get the right tool for the job. To find out more, go to graphicscreenfashion.com, greatfuckingscreens.com, or ffffrank.com. Cleaning screens is no fun, but EasyWay makes it way more funner. Their line of eco-friendly chemicals will make reclaiming screens a whole lot easier. Check them out at easyway.com. EasyWay. It's the easiest way. Graphics is the source for production-ready digital art and remote art staffing. They can help any size shop from just starting out to enterprise level. Looking to add a hero to your art department? Check them out at graphicsource.com. S&S has been our go-to apparel source since day one. Discover an extensive range of apparel that blends innovative design with unbeatable comfort. Their customer service and quality control are the best out there. Check them out at ssactivewear.com. The weathered hues of comfort colors are inspired by nature, so it makes sense that their dye process would be made for respect with it too. The Pigment Pure process produces earth-friendly colors by using a third less water, taking 40% less process time, and consuming less energy and requiring zero salt. The 1717 is my favorite shirt of all time. This is a 1717 that I asked Brandon from Independent to make for me. I love it. It's my favorite shirt. It's worn. It's perfectly fits me. I love it. Thank you, Brandon, for the shirt. For over 90 years, Stahls has been the leading choice among apparel decorators for their heat transfer materials, heat press equipment, and custom transfer services. Not only do they offer some of the best products, but they are always looking to innovate and educate our industry on all things heat press. To check out more, go to stahls.com. We did an episode, 2 episodes ago, we did with Stahls, and there's a lot of really good information in there about heat pressing, the history of them, why you choose different materials, and also the pro tip of using skateboard grip tape for post press on DTF. If you haven't yet, go back, listen to that episode. It's a good one. There's a few things I want to say and touch on. One, thank you very much to everybody who listens to the show or watches this show or supports this show. It means the absolute world to me. So much so that we are doubling down on trying to put out the best content for this show, get on great guests, have good co-hosts. I just redid the backdrop behind me. I am not in the yellow chair anymore. It's still here. I still may bring it back, but I got kind of a new setup I'm happy with. I get to sit up, take notes, which is nice. there's a lot of things in store. We're going to do an updated website and make it a resource for screen printers as far as all the shop hacks and events that are coming up. And we want to make it a community. It's about the community of screen printing and, embroidery and all these things. I just want more and more for us all to be able to have a resource where we all can feel like part of the group. So I do want to say thank you very much again to everyone who listens. If you can subscribe, share, it makes a world of difference for us. It helps the show grow. It helps more people find out who we are and what's going on. And it's just good all around. So I appreciate you. Thank you. If you can take a second and like us or share something on Instagram or something, that'd be great. I appreciate you all. I love you. Thank you. Hope you enjoy the show.
Oh, yeah.
It looks so good.
Dylan, we purposely put the coils underneath the pyramids.
Have you been keeping... Well, I mean, obviously because you put them there, but... The funny thing is... all right, you're a real alien. We'll just go with that. But the funny thing is I tried to buy a mask just like that online once, and it came, and it was not even close to that.
Nah. Well, that's because you have to become part of the Greys.
Why are you doing this?
No, I just wanted to get on here and, just give a little laugh, little giggle.
How does the mouth go with it?
Yeah.
Is it sucked to your face?
Yeah. So it's a silicone mask. It sucks to your face. And, it's got all the great details, as you can see, all the nice
I know, it's
and all
perfect.
That good stuff. It actually goes all the way down. And when I mean all the way down, all the way down.
All the way down.
All the way down.
Yeah.
So it's going to take me probably an hour and a half to take it off. So
just leave it on.
Yeah. No, I'm going to go take this off. So check this out.
Right.
Watch this. It's like a sock.
I got to get one of those.
And voila.
There he is.
You
Here's
like
my
that?
handsome guy. What's up, dude?
Man, I'll tell you what. It's been a heck of a year.
Dude.
What's up with you?
Including 2024?
Yeah, including 2024.
Or 2025 is a heck of a year.
Yeah. No, it's kind of like the dad thing. Like, man, I haven't seen you. It's been a year. You know? So, no, it's sad. I met you, I guess formally on the show. And then I wanted to see you at, ISS, and I wasn't able to go.
Instead, I got to hang out with your parents.
Yeah, my parents were there. They're checking out all the new equipment, and my mom and dad love you. They're like, that's the nicest guy I've ever met. They're like, we love that guy. And I was like, yeah, Dylan, he kind of sucks, but yeah. And they're like, what? I was like, no.
It's all fake. It's just all a facade. Yeah.
It's all fake. So, dude, what about you?
Did you guys end up getting anything from that show? Because they were looking at Reclaim.
Yeah, no. Whole long story. So we have grown so much that we're like, okay, we've got our place, and then you know how it goes. You got to get more power, and then you've got to get more equipment, and then you're spending all this money, and it's just like a little nerve-wracking, because like what happens if you put all this money into it, and then you get all these big clients, and then all like out of nowhere, they just turn the water hose off. So
Right.
We're like, okay, because I have a family to feed. I have a son now. It's 18 months. And I think about that, before I was very selfish, and I'd be like, oh, whatever, pull the trigger, But now, I do have a family. I need to think about those things. So I'm like, okay, let's take it slow. So I was like, what can we do? So my parents actually ran into Anthony from Stitches.
Mm-hmm.
So Anthony. And Anthony and I become really good friends. We literally talk like every day. And we started collabing. So he is doing a lot of our print work and stuff like that, helping us out because we're so maxed out here. So we're working together. He's made it seamless with us. Our driving force here is our art department. So, now we're up to 5 illustrators and,
Damn.
Always looking for more, to be on the team. So, we didn't want to we're big risk takers, obviously, because we're in this industry, right? I know you know that for a fact because I've seen your growth story and stuff and, building and expanding. So we're like, okay, but I've also heard, Dylan, so many stories of building too fast and falling on your face.
Yeah,
And
for sure.
I almost had that happen to us a few years ago with that story I told you on the last podcast with losing all that money and being on the honeymoon. And I just didn't want to go through that again. I wanted to slow build, but also keep up with these clients who are like, we need 10,000 units next week. And I'm like, yeah, cool. Well, so.
Well, it's nice. Yeah. It's nice to have that partnership in play where you can reach out to him and be like, hey, can you guys handle this? Or can you guys handle half of this? And we'll do half or whatever it is you want to do.
For sure.
But I mean, you kind of touched on the point of having like 5 artists and stuff. And that was the reason why I wanted to have, you from R&S Printing on today, because you guys are kind of known for this, more technical art, I guess you would call it. I mean, do you guys have a name for it? It's not just, you wouldn't just say art. Like it's,
nah, we just,
I feel like it's very the car, truck, boat people, where it's like, it's a whole scene.
Yeah. High-end illustration.
High-end illustration, yeah.
Yeah. So I guess that's what we've been trying to kind of figure out is like, how would you, say it? But yeah, high-end illustration, a lot of people can do vector all day.
Right.
But there's not a lot of true pen and ink, I guess you would say, artists out there that just, take their time, jump on Procreate, illustrate, because like we'll hire somebody in and they say they can do this and that and the other, but when they actually show us that they can actually get a pencil out and illustrate, that's what we're looking for.
Yeah, and it seems to be, it's funny you're saying how busy you are. It's a very good market to be in if you can do that kind of thing, because there's such a high demand for it. Like I know a couple other shops that do something like you and they're always booked up. Like it's always like, oh, well, we can't get you in for artwork for like a year or like 8 months or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like Graphic Disorder, it was the same thing with them. Like I had a customer a while ago who was like, oh, I want like basically like a photo of my truck or this high-end illustration of my truck and all this other stuff. I was like, oh, I'm going to hit up those guys, hit up Brant and be like, hey, can you do the artwork for us? He's like, dude, I could try, but like for the average customer, we're like 8 months ahead or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like, holy fuck, dude. So
yeah,
it's awesome. I mean, it's sweet that you can be in that, but the thing behind it is, and the reason why I wanted to have you on today with Twine is the discussion is a lot of sim process and, sticking to that, versus going more of a digital route and kind of the whole world that lives in.
Yeah.
And again, like you have the market for it and it's working for you. So hell yeah, dude. Like,
yeah. 90, I would say probably 98% of our business is just high-end simulated process. I mean, it's like, I think average, we do about 12 screens for the backs of our jobs. Like average, it's like 12 screens. Like, and then like 4 or 5 screens for the left chest. So, I mean, it's yeah.
It's a lot of screens.
Well, and then that's why we're at the show, because we're like, we couldn't keep up. I mean, first of all, we didn't even have enough screens, and then I was like, I just kept buying screens and I'm like, well, that's not the problem. The problem is we can't turn them fast enough.
Yeah.
Tearing it down and reclaiming them. And that was our issue. These high color counts were kicking our butt with the facility that we have. So again, and I tell everybody this, or clients and stuff, I guess I'm like, we have a 30-year-old product, like it's a beautiful product. It's tried and true. It's beautiful, but we're just such a young company. Like we just started our 6th year and, we're I don't know. I guess, just trying to keep up with it.
You're past that hump, it's 5 years is what they say is until you start making money. So
Yeah,
hey,
I'm
are you
hoping.
making some money now?
I'm hoping. Well, and we fought hurricanes, we fought COVID, we fought through a lot of stuff. So I mean,
Yeah.
I honestly, Dylan, had no idea I'd be here right now, and that's the truth. I thought that there's many times we would shut the doors. I mean, just we all did with COVID. I mean, obviously we were all scared.
Yeah.
But hurricanes destroying our place, and all those things
made
that
it.
we went through. We made it.
You made it.
Oh,
You made
and a
it.
fire. We went through a fire. I think I told you that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but yeah, we made it, man. I'm just glad you're doing good, dude. I look at your stuff. Your new logo looks fire. Like I saw it. It looked good. Like it looks clean.
The funny thing is like, I reached out to a couple designers, and Deadbolt has been a guy that we and his team that we've gone back and forth with all the time. Like, hey, I need stickers, or I want a new badge or something for hats, or this or that and the other thing. Well, anyway, I think one day, it was like a weekend or something, I was looking at Instagram and I was like, our icon for Instagram and socials and all this other stuff is this like complicated, like here's our little logo in the middle and it's got all this text around it and all this other stuff. It's like, you can't fucking read it. Like, it's just, what it is by seeing it. And then I hit him up. I was like, hey, can we make more of like an icon that's like us, but not super complicated? And he was like, yeah. So we went through like 30 iterations of different things, because I was like, our shop has been known for a couple icons. One is like a Sasquatch, two is an eagle. And there's been a couple other little like mascotty things, but like Whitney Point, where I live, is the Whitney Point Eagles. Like we have bald eagles all over the place. Like our school is the Eagles, like this whole thing. So when we first started here, our very first icon was an eagle. And I was like, oh, I kind of want to stick with the eagle thing. So then he started designing stuff where it was like a U and an M for Upstate merch. So like the U is the wings and the M is like the bottom, tail feathers and feet or whatever.
Yeah.
And it ended up coming together, and I was pretty stoked on it. I was like, hell yeah. So originally I wasn't like, oh, this is our new logo. I was just looking for a cool new like icon graphic or something. And now I'm like stoked. I'm like, yeah, like this is good. But the problem is I mean, like you do something like that, and then you're like, fuck, I got to change it on like 85 things. Like I got to go onto every thing and change it over.
Even like simple stuff like your softwares and letterhead and
like email signatures and like all this stuff. Yeah.
And you're like, I didn't even know I had one there. I'm like, crap.
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah. I mean, real quick to add to that, I was following you before I opened this place, which I think I told you. I was following you and
That's
like
creepy.
Yeah. And Upstate merch,
Right.
I didn't really like dig into Dylan, but like Upstate merch, I followed everybody that I thought just was doing cool stuff before we opened up our place. And every time I think of you, I always think of a Sasquatch, though. Like every time.
Well, the problem with that is
and I don't know why. I think it's just because it's been your thing.
It's been something I've been really into since I was a kid, and I have like a lot of Sasquatch things and I'm into it, but like in the past, I'd say 5 to 10 years, it's blown up as this like thing that everybody's into. Yeah. And like from bands and stuff, it just turns it off more and more. And you're like, like every other person and every other thing is now like a Sasquatch logo and this. And it's like, I want to stand out a little bit. But I mean, the funny thing is about that is like, there's 100 print shops that have an eagle as their logo too. And it's like, whatever, we'll just make something a little different. But anyway, I'm glad you're here. It's time to let our buds in.
All right, let's do it.
Today, Seth, we are talking to Brandon and John from Twine Graphics.
Brandon and John.
What's up, boys?
Hello.
What's up? What's up?
Am I interrupting your day too much, or is it a good time?
No, man, this is good. We planned around it. It's been one of those weird, hectic days. You know how it always goes in the shop. So, you can plan accordingly, but there's always Hail Marys. So.
Yeah, it's funny because I talked to Seth earlier. Oh, and hey, this is my co-host Seth from R&S Printing.
What's up, guys?
Nice to meet you.
I called Seth this morning because, again, you can plan for this and we can schedule for like a recording or something. And then it's always the day of where it's like, oh, I had a flat tire on the way in, and oh, my dryer caught on fire and this and this and this. And it's like, I'm always glad when they're like, yeah, dude, nope, good day. I'm stoked. I'm ready to do this. And I was like, hell yeah. Like, it's nice when everyone's on the same page.
I mean, you know how it is. It's like every freaking day, you just don't know what you're going to get into. So
Right. Well, it's funny. I posted a thing on the Instagram now. I do every Tuesday, kind of like a talk of some sort or a topic. And today's was time suck. And then I got saying, like, hey, you get into work in the morning, and you guys all know as owners, like, you get in with somewhat of a plan or like a mental note of like, this is how my day is going to go. And every day it gets kicked in the teeth. Like, it's never what you thought it's going to be. It changes completely. And I just wanted to get people's take on what it is that bogs them down and what they're doing to fix it. So,
yeah,
I love it.
Well, anyway, do you guys want to introduce yourself and who you are and what your shop name is, and then we can move on from there?
Sure. Another person?
Yeah. My name is Brandon Hagan. I'm one of the owners of Twine Graphics and Screen Printing in Franklin, Tennessee.
And I am John Bond, the other co-owner of Twine.
That's a hell of a last name.
I was about to say, I like that. I know, a little shaking, not stirring.
Chad's going to put up.
Yeah.
Well, that kind of ties into, like, so we actually took the acronym Twine is the world is not enough, which is the Bond family motto.
Nice.
On our crest. So it kind of play on that, like, the world is yours kind of deal.
Yeah.
But so yeah, we kind of like redesigned or designed the logo around that kind of concept and mantra. So
is that what it actually came from in the beginning? Like the
Yeah. So well, we started almost 15 years ago now, but
congrats.
I had freelance for a year before Brandon graduated. We both went to the same college, Western Kentucky University. And I was freelance under that as an acronym, so I had little periods in there. And so when we started this whole thing and figured out we wanted to do something, we kind of kicked around so many different logos and I mean, the business names and everything. And I don't know, just kind of always felt right that Twine, it was kind of crafty and short and easy to, I don't know. So it just kind of, we adopted it, and it's been it ever since. So I think
I like it. I mean, I've seen you guys for a long time. I've followed what you guys are doing, and it's like, it's one of those names that, it stands out. Like, it's not, there's not 100 Twines. There's probably one, maybe two.
I think there's one, and there's a company that legitimately sells, I think, Twine. But other than that,
I just love that it's short, Well, a lot of people have like long names and stuff. I like that. It's like, hey guys, I need some more merch. Call Twine. Like, it's just easy.
Yeah,
it flows easy.
I like that
it's easy.
Single syllable, like, or easy, like Twine, or it's kind of why you name your dog like a double thing. Easy repetition, easy to understand, easy to flow. So that's cool that you guys picked up on that. It's kind of
coming up with a name was that was horrible. It just takes forever. You want the right one, and then you're just like trying to come up with all these names, and then you just come up with something simple like R&S. Like, it wasn't like something like Upstate Merch. It was like R&S. Like, and then it's like R&S. It's like, all right, cool.
Our goal was also focus on like having a brand. It was important to us. We wanted Twine to have brand recognition, from the beginning. So that's another reason why we landed on that versus like a, Nashville Screen Printing or something like that.
There's probably 100 of those.
There's a lot of different iterations of those names, I guess. But that's why our logo too mimics, like, we love that old like gas station setting.
I was gonna say like oil can.
Yeah, it looks like a logo you've seen and didn't really, I don't know, it's been around for years, but it hasn't, kind of deal. So
I love it.
Yeah.
So how did you guys get into this whole thing? Like, why screen printing? I mean, you said you were a freelancer, but how does it go to that?
That's a good question. So when I was a junior in college, I actually worked for kind of a rough around the edges screen printing shop. And, the guy that owned that shop, he wasn't really involved in sales or art. He was a screen printer, and it just so happened that I walked in one day and nobody was up front, and he greeted me, and I told him that I was going to school for graphic design. I was interested in screen printing, and just on the spot, he just offered me a job and said, well, if you know how to design, you can run the front of my shop, more or less. And I ended up.
It's so funny because there's so many stories I've heard from people about how they got started, that they walked into a shop and it's just some dude in the back. Like, and then also imagine that being us now. Like, some guy walks in today and you're like, you're hired, you seem to know what you're doing, run the front of my screen printing shop.
Yeah, that's absolutely bananas, that thought now.
Yeah, he put out his Pall Mall cigarette and his Milwaukee Best beer, and
perfect
good job.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Hell yeah, brother.
Yeah. So anyway, you walked in and instantly got the job. What happened next?
So I worked for that shop for a couple of years. And, I had decided that I wanted to do my own thing and start a screen printing business. And I just tried to learn as much as I could about the industry while I was there. I knew that I wasn't planning on staying in Kentucky where I was at the time.
Right.
And, he actually offered at one point to sell me the business. And I just knew that, it wasn't really something I wanted to do, to try to make that business into what I wanted it to be. And I just felt like I would rather be down in the Nashville area and, start something more or less from scratch. And moved down here when I met my wife, and had the intentions from day one of trying to do something like what we've done. And, John and I got together, and he was already freelancing, and, it ended up being a good fit for us to try to work together on starting something. And, we started out outsourcing some jobs that we designed, and then eventually got our own equipment and put it in a Amish built shed in John's backyard. And, we had the whole darkroom set up and the manual press and everything. It was a really shitty caps press that didn't hold registration. So we would have to turn the lights off and burn screens while the other one was still that kind of thing.
Shutting other things off. You can't use two things at once or the power shuts off.
Electrical.
No, and then it was like me throwing a squeegee across the shed and being like, "We've got to get some better equipment. I can't deal with this, man." So we got our first M&R Sidewinder, I think, or so 6.8 manual.
Blue crew.
Man. We have one rock auto, but we're all blue shop.
Yeah, that thing is probably going to reef somewhere. All right, keep going. I'm just kidding. Nah, no hate to rock, no hate.
But what's funny, so screen printing, so I had a love for screen printing on the opposite end of it was flat stock, man. I was a gig poster freak, and that's like my whole background in college. I have a BA in printmaking, and I just loved screen printing. And so I'd never even printed a shirt in my life until we started this business.
Yeah.
But Brandon had all that great back knowledge of actually screen printing, for textiles and all this stuff. And, obviously with graphic design, it caters well financially in that market, versus, it's a good way to sell design, I guess, t-shirts and whatnot. So we kind of knew that was the direction we wanted to go.
Yeah. Brandon, I want to ask you a quick question, because I had a similar background where I was, design and sales and whatever. And then I went to work for another print shop. And then I knew when I left there that I wanted to create my own thing or do my own thing, or had that drive to be like, I can do this. Like, I don't need them kind of thing. Do you remember back then, I guess, did you have a plan when you left there of like, oh, well, I know what inks I want to get, I know what knowledge to take from this place? Or were you just like, oh, I'm just going to go and I'm going to figure it out?
Well, I was very young at that time. And, I had ideas when I left there. Actually, I had notes written down about the types of emulsion that he was using and the inks and things like that. And I wanted to, have that information as I went out into the future. And a lot of things happened between, leaving that shop and actually starting our shop. I actually worked for another merch company in Nashville called Zambui that they're not around anymore. So that was another kind of different learning experience. They actually hired me to do color separations. So I had a little bit more experience with in-depth color seps there, and then actually went on to work in the sign industry for a while. But a lot of the things that we learned as far as inks and things like that, we actually developed later on, from,
right.
Really actually when we bought our M&R, we started working heavily with a vendor here called Screen Process of Alabama. And they actually really helped us along with what inks we should be using and better emulsions and things like that. So unfortunately, a lot of that information that I brought from the Kentucky shop, I didn't really have much use for, other than just a lot of what not to do probably on.
Yeah, and I think that played a lot into it. You know, when I first started, I wasn't planning on doing t-shirts at all. I had a button company, and then I sold the button company to that print shop, and then I went and I was like, all right, well, I was already outsourcing t-shirts, but outsourcing t-shirts at that time didn't mean that I knew anything about screen printing. I just knew how to sell t-shirts to bands. Yeah. And then when I got there, I was in the shop. I kind of was always liking to get up and walk around, or like see the jobs that I was approving, and like go out on press and like understand why certain inks go where, and, you know, flash sequences and, you know, squeegee angles and all this other stuff. So like I tried to absorb as much of that as possible. And that was even before I knew that I was leaving and going home. But I guess it gives you a somewhat of a good foundation of like, oh, I know I can do this. So anyway, you two team up and you're working in this Amish shed. What happens next?
Well, I kind of handled almost all the production for a while, just because I was working, I was actually driving a commercial box truck for a company locally, and they actually became our first client on the screen print side, which was cool. And he's still a client to this day, which is cool. 15 years later. So, but anyways, I kind of started off. I went all in, kind of a little bit quicker than Brandon. He was kind of handling too, like a lot of the design, a lot of the back end stuff, while I'm, you know, grinding through the day, getting the shirts printed, things like that. And we finally hit that bottleneck to where we lucked out, and we got our first big client that was like, you know, our first like 500 piece order, let's say. Mm-hmm. And I remember printing that thing and getting through it, and then being like, hey man, you gotta either let's jump on this and do it, or like I think I'm gonna lose my mind. Like I just
remember the day that happened to me. So that's why I'm laughing. I'm not laughing at the I remember that day.
It was
we've all had it.
A breaking point moment.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, luckily we both had so much confidence in what we were doing and what we were creating that I think it was an easy, like, let's go. But and then we through a friend locally who had some space, we rented our first location outside of the shed, and we were there, and it was us and one other dude for like a year, maybe two. We had there was four of us, I think, in the first location.
That was in 2011. We were actually 23 years old when we hired our first employee and rented that first space.
What was your first employee for? Cleaning screens?
Printing, actually.
Printing.
It was actually a buddy from college, so he went to Western too, graphic design degree. He's our first, I'd say, full-time employee, right? Was Zach. We had a guy kind of help in between, but for whatever reason, I don't not knock on him, but we almost don't consider him our first employee because it wasn't like a everyday 9 to 5-ish type situation, you know?
Yeah.
But he's a good dude. He actually still works with us now too. He's our color sep and art kind of director, if you will, internally. But yeah, man, it was crazy. I mean, we just kind of hit go, and we just kept growing and growing, and we added another press, another manual. So we're a 2-manual shop. And then we got the opportunity to get a little bit bigger space right down the road on the same street. So
I think part of what fueled our growth in the early days is that we decided to focus more heavily on the sales and art side. Mm-hmm. And we started hiring on the production side early on. We actually hired a guy that worked for a really well-known print shop. He lived in Franklin, but the print shop was in Nashville. It was Anderson Studios.
Mm-hmm.
And they were really known for their...
Hell yeah, Andy Anderson. He's a fucking legend.
Anderson, man. Everybody knows him, yeah.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
I got the luxury of going to his studio and just hanging out with him for the day. And it was literally in my like career in this industry and the whole thing. And that's like up there. It's like definitely top 5 experiences. And I think it was mostly just because I knew of him. I knew of his work. But to go into a place like that, again, this isn't his print shop. This is his studio. This is where he keeps like, he has totes and totes everywhere of like, oh yeah, these are the shirts I printed for Garth Brooks. And he like pulls out like all these samples and he's like, oh, these are the, you know, it's just like every massive major artist who comes through Nashville, he had.
Yeah,
So it was like everyone would go to him that was like, oh, I want to do, because what was for country music, especially, was it was them, like a picture of the artist, like, and it fades out into the shirt or whatever.
Yeah, that was.
And it
big.
was like he had all of them. He had every sample, and he was just pulling things. And he was like, "Oh, this is the technique I did here," and oh, also over here is my paint booth for my motorcycles, because he was known for like painting like vans and motorcycle tanks and like all this other stuff. And just spent the day with him, like literally picking his brain, and he was just showing me everything. And he was so inviting and awesome. I'm actually going to try to get him on the show.
Oh, that's cool.
But yeah, it's just he's one of those people, and it was one of those experiences where I was like, hell yeah. So yeah, it's, if you got a guy who's like, oh yeah, I worked at Anderson Studios, I'd be like, yeah, you're hired.
He was like his pro. I mean, he was the dude under Andy for a long time, and lucked out. We went to high school together, and so we kind of knew each other from previous, and so we were able to bring him on. And I mean, we were doing complex simulated process prints 2 years into business, you know, doing stuff that would melt people's brains. We were in magazines and stuff. And like, it was just like, sky's the limit print wise. It was just like getting everything else around it was the complicated part.
Well, I want to step back for a second, because I think every screen printer wants to get to that point where they're like, you know, everything we do is super technical and it's super this and super that. But the reality is, and I don't know, you guys haven't met Seth before, but the reason why I wanted to have Seth on is because Seth's shop is known for that as well. Like everything they do, like he was saying, where you're saying your average job is 12 screens. Like that's usually like the minimum.
That's like that's our typical, for back pieces and stuff like that. 12 screens.
That's awesome.
Yeah, typically. Yeah. So, I mean, you know, and we can also go up a little bit more, you know, 16 screens or so if they're 18 color and stuff. But, you know, you have to have some wiggle room for some flashes, for just some pickup and stuff like that. Yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, we started doing simulated process off the rip, like opened this place in 2019. And then the design that's hanging up behind me right here, this mermaid, that was our first design that we ever printed. So that was like kind of what set us apart in the very, like the day one on that. So, but yeah, I'm a huge fan of doing it. I'm a huge fan of simulated process, you know, and all that good stuff. So yeah.
But I think the thing is too, and what we find out, like we do a good amount of sim process too, but it's like, it's not our bread and butter. It's not our everyday. Like we get a lot of spot color stuff, a lot of comic book shops and this, and it's spot color, but yeah, it might be a 12, 14 color print, but it's not all sim process all day long. And it's certain types of art, like, you know, sets and whatever, where it's like, you know, a graphic of a boat and it's got a marlin coming out of the water and like all this other stuff. And it's like, that's not what I'm doing all day long. But I found with that kind of thing is that it's a lot of trial and error. You know, do you feel like you had a little bit of a leg up with the dude from Andy's place, where it was like, cool, we're hitting the ground running and you guys can take your art that you're known for and just be like, hey, let's make this happen? Or how did that, I guess that breaking into sim process thing work? Because you can't just start doing it. I mean, you can, but like you're going to fail for a long time before you figure out how it all lays down.
Yeah, I would say initially that we had a couple of things going. And I'll also say too, just to take a step back, it's not our bread and butter. We love it. And it is something that we love doing and doing as much as we can, but we do a whole lot of spot color stuff. Yeah. But back when we first started breaking into doing simulated process more as a business, I had a little bit of experience in the color separations, just having worked in the music merchandise industry. So that helped as well. And also, we actually outsourced some color separation very early on for very complicated jobs. And Nick, our production manager, he was able to kind of help direct that because he understood the way that the screens should be set up so well that he was able to help make sure that the separations we were getting back were, you know, going to work. And if they didn't work, he knew how to tell them how to adjust them and make them work. So yeah, his ability actually really, kind of propelled us to be able to do that a lot faster and more successfully, I think, than we would have been otherwise.
Seth, do your artists have print training at all? Or are they just artists?
Yeah. So, just like you cool guys over there at Twine, I started this company, with one of my best friends, John, and we went in this together. He came from, like the Orlando type area. Like, he did like Disney, Universal, all those big folks, Margaritaville, all that cool stuff. So he came.
I love how you put Disney, Universal, Margaritaville.
Well, I was just saying, like, and
I
like
get what you're saying. It's just funny to mention the three as like, the Mount Rushmore of Orlando.
Hey, when you think of Orlando, that's the Mount Rushmore. But yeah, so he just had tons of experience with it. I mean, yeah, I started this company in 2019. My dad did. I know y'all don't know much about me, but I guess I'll do a quick little recap because, I would love to talk more about you guys. But in 2019, I opened this up with him. My dad was in the print industry for 30 something years. He helped open it, obviously, with us. I was doing stunts and stuff in movies. That's a whole different story.
Wow.
But I grew up in the industry. And then John was like, hey, man, I'm kind of just like going freelance. I'm basically done with being with these print shops. Like, I'm just done with it. But he had tons of experience on press. Like, he knows everything about SEPs. He knows everything about illustration. He's just like a godsend for us. And basically, we both said, if we take a leap of faith, invest in the equipment, get a building spot, let's just freaking do this. Let's just see what happens. So, I mean, I was just planning on doing haunted houses for a living and stuff like that. Hence the alien mask here that I was messing with him on. Anyway,
nice.
So I do haunted attractions too for a living, but so I'm a very creative, weird person. He's the same way. He said, let's freaking do this. We did. One of the most difficult prints you could ever do is hanging up behind me. That's why I have it there, to remind myself and be humble every day that this could be taken away from me any day. Because this industry is, everybody comes out with something cool and new, and we could be wiped off easily. So he just showed me the ropes. We did an awesome print. I showed it to my first customer here that you see, and then off to the races. And then it just kind of went from there.
And then you're forced to figure it out no matter what, because you put yourself in that market.
Well, but here's the funny thing. He's still remote to this day. He lives in Georgia, like in the upper mountain. He don't live here. So I had to learn everything. So from coding screens to figuring out, okay, you are going to laugh at this. I didn't even know how to get film out of a film printer. So I had to go on YouTube and figure it out. I was like, John, I don't even know how to get film out of this thing. I don't even know how to make SEPs. And he was like, well, I'll Zoom with you. I was like, all right. So yeah, I mean, I learned this all from scratch myself, and it's been a hell of a ride, guys. Hell of a ride, but I still stuck with it, and I don't know how the hell we're still here, but we're here.
I know.
So,
that's how we feel too. I look back and I'm like, dude, it just feels like yesterday I was like burning or blowing out screens in my driveway, and there's like purple crap going down the sidewalks, and I'm like, there's going to be some mutant earthworm come out of the ground and eat me or something.
You're starting a new species of some kind.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like,
I will say, everybody that's in screen printing, just like yourself, Dylan, everybody that actually physically does it, we all know the grind and how hard screen printing truly is. A lot of people don't understand. No. But loading shirts, loading the press, taking the shirts off, off the press, making sure they're cured at the end of the dryer, putting them in a box. I mean, I can go on and on. Tear down and set up a 12-color job every time. I mean, you got all the squeegees. You got to take the squeegees, take all the ink. Dylan, I watch all your videos. Y'all are freaking grinding too. And a lot of people don't understand. Like my UPS driver, it's funny. I was gaining a bunch of weight, and then during the summer, he goes, "Are you on crack?" I was like, what? He goes, "It's hot as hell back here, and you've lost probably 50, 60 pounds. And I was like, to my UPS driver, I'm like, no, it's just hot as balls out here, man. Like, it's just bad. Yeah. So we've all been there, and I tell everybody in this industry is respect. We've all grinded. We all understand.
funny thing is I had this discussion with somebody the other day that's not really an industry person, but they were talking about, how Upstate's been around for, like, I've been doing this for 17 years now.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, they're like, oh, I'm glad you're stuck with it and you did this and this other thing. And I'm like, I just fucking do what I got to do when I get up in the morning. And then when work's done at some point in the day, I go to sleep and I just do it again the next day.
That's screen printer mentality, buddy.
There was never a plan. There was never, like, when I first started doing this, there was never like, I want to own a screen printing shop. It was like, nah, dude, I don't want to fucking work at Sears installing appliances anymore. I want to, I was in a band and I was like, I'll start selling buttons for some extra money. And then that took off. And then you're like, okay, cool. Like, screen printing came in somehow. And you're like, cool, I want to print shirts. And then I've literally just like, it's almost like one foot in front of the other, like every day for the last 17 years to get to where I am now. And yeah, you could walk in off the street and be like, wow, this is impressive. This whatever. And it's like, yeah, this is every day for years and years. Like, eventually it just looks like this because it's where I'm at. You know what I mean? That's not like, oh, there was this plan. But
Amen.
I mean, you guys are kind of in the same boat, I'm sure. Like, Christina was telling me that you guys have like, have a retail spot too, and you have a place across the street.
Yeah, we do.
Nice.
It's a long way from the Amish shed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we have a retail store in our downtown Franklin, which is just a really cool historic downtown area. A lot of the stuff we sell out of there is kind of a showcase of all of the custom things we do, and we use it as a portfolio. We have our own brand in there, the Twine brand, and then we also have a lot of like tourism geared pieces, Nashville, Franklin type stuff for the people that come through and are visiting our area. We get a lot of people that day trip down to Franklin from Nashville. So that's a cool opportunity to get people from around the country to learn about our business. And it's pretty cool seeing somebody rock like a Twine shirt. It's like we're just a screen printing business at the end of the day, but the fact that people rock that as like a brand and wear that around is pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Do you ever find, and this is a side question, do you ever find that to be confusing for people to, like, if you're trying to market your screen printing company, do they think that you're just a clothing brand and they couldn't, like, you're kind of almost unapproachable for business?
It's pretty obvious what we are when you go into our retail shop, just because we have like banners hanging up and like there's things in there that are very much indicating that, hey, we want to do this for you. Even though we're selling it ourselves as a brand,
And that's one thing the staff does too a good job of there is we really try to say, hey, like everything in here is designed and printed by us locally. Right. We're a local, that kind of thing. It's a huge community piece, obviously, for us and our business and just outreach, I guess. But yeah, that I think we haven't thankfully run into too much confusion there because we really tried to design it around it, like educating the consumer that these goods are custom
made
done by us, I guess.
I think the reason why I bring that up is because I've struggled a little bit. Like, I kind of made a little brand a couple years ago that I haven't really pushed much. It was like a New York Tea Club is what I called it. And it was just kind of like, originally I was going back and forth with the idea of making a shirt of the month club because a couple of friends of mine had some, really successful ones and there wasn't really a New York one. And I was like, all right, I kind of want to make one that's like upstate New York, where when people hear New York, they immediately think New York City. And I was like, dude, 90% of New York is mountains and lakes, not fucking the city. Yeah. So again, I like hiking and all this other stuff. So I was like, oh, I'll make this like outdoorsy kind of thing for that. And then, I don't have time to do it. Like, I don't have time to promote it and to have a retail place and this and this. And I pushed it online. It did really well. I made some really cool designs, but now I'm thinking about just like merging it kind of with Upstate as far as like on the website, it's like offered, it's a thing, but I always get the feel that like things are going to be out there as like, oh, this is Upstate, like not New York Tea Club anymore. It's just like Upstate, whatever. I just didn't want people to think that, oh, this is just a clothing line. Like, I want them to come to us because of the printing. And on every tag of the shirt, it says NYT Club, proudly printed by Upstate Merch on it. But other than that, I've always just thought that in the back of my head of like, should I kind of bring the two together and offer them, or just have like a store link on our website or something to buy them?
Yeah.
But I was always like, I don't know.
I think what's funny is that everybody's, when they start a company and you got this amazing work, you got this amazing art, we all want to come up with our own brand too, right? Because you throw it online, you can make that retail money, which is what we all want. I mean, we're printing it and then they're selling it for $30 and you're looking at that margin and you're like, oh man, that'd be nice. And so we did the same thing, right? So Charlie's Cotton, I started it, named it after my dog. She passed away. But it kind of goes back to Dylan. You can't keep up with it all. So it's like I was trying to do Charlie's Cotton and R&S at the same time, and then R&S just always just trumps it every time. And I'm like, damn, I really want to get Charlie's Cotton going. So I did this massive catalog, dude. It's like 30 designs. Charlie's Cotton, duck hunting stuff. We're in the South too, so it's all like hunting and fishing.
You're from the South?
Hey, Dylan. Shut up. So yeah,
I couldn't tell from the accent or anything.
Yeah. Well, Alabama had, I guess. But anyways, yeah. So like, we've got all this cool stuff, dude. R&S is still doing its thing, like you guys with Twine and with Upstate merch. We ended up just using all 30 designs as just flippable art for everybody else. So we just took Charlie's Cotton off, and just put whoever else on.
Yeah, but the
there,
nice thing that they have figured out is that they just call it Twine. So everything's just Twine.
That's great.
So there's no secondary brand. You're just making shop shirts.
That's great.
And people are buying
A lot
them.
of it's Tennessee centric designs, and then we put our little Twine, logo on there, so they're branded in some component. And I think one of the successes there really is, I think, contributed to the historic downtown Franklin. I mean, it's America's, it's top 10 main streets in America all the time. It's winning awards. It's a destination city for other thriving, communities to kind of mimic and play in. So we were lucky enough to capitalize on that. And I think that was a good billboard for us to promote the main core brand, which is the screen printing and everything. But I really think that community piece, spreading out, it really did allow us to get a lot of cool clients that we work with now that, we're also thriving in that downtown, that are expanding their businesses throughout, Franklin, Nashville, other states, you name it. And so it was a big advertising piece. We didn't go into it trying to make a lot of money. I think that was part of the success too. We did it to pay for itself, but the goal was to use that for advertising,
because it works a couple ways. One, you can make the retail money with it being in the historic downtown and all this stuff, but also you can showcase your guys' artwork and what you're capable of.
Exactly.
You could do a bunch of different printing techniques and be like, oh, well, that's kind of what we do here with our upstate shop shirts. It's up front, we have, 6 at a time shop shirts, but it's not like everyone is a plastisol print. It's this one's a plastisol, this one's discharge underbase with soft plastisol on top, this one's discharge, this one's water base. They're all different versions, so that when someone comes in and they're like, oh, I'm really interested in a discharge print, you're like, okay, cool. Take this. Here's your size. Nice. Wash it, wear it, do whatever you want to do. But that's the point of it, is showcasing different printing techniques and different styles and everything else. So are you finding that that's good with the retail store? If you're like, we really want to push this sim process, or we really want to push this feel or style of print, you can show it off in the store, and then you get kind of a little bit of a wave of customers being like, oh, I want it like that.
Yeah. No, absolutely. That's definitely always been our goal with it. When we opened that store, it was kind of like jumping out of an airplane. We had no idea what we were doing. They the oldest historic business building in downtown Franklin. And, we just had a small screen printing shop. And so that was a pretty crazy thing when we did it, but we just believed in the idea and went all in on it. And we, once we got the space, we're like, okay, we have to fill this with merch now, and hopefully stuff that will sell.
Yeah. Well, and it was a serendipitous thing because at the time when that occurred, the designer we had great industry experience, and he actually did some of the branding and development of Dolly Parton's retail that was in downtown Nashville. It's not there anymore, and it was short lived. I think it was a tie into the museum and stuff. But anyways, he helped with that and understood retail where we had no clue. So he really kind of helped, I think, facilitate and develop that first real launch of like product that did really well. We had a hot chicken shirt, and we had, all this stuff before a lot of people were doing those kind of things. And so that was helpful, I think.
You guys, from what I'm hearing from your story, is that you get really fucking lucky with just like random people showing up that know how to do things already.
Man, I think that's been one of our biggest successes. I really think so. And I think it's, I think as an entrepreneur, I think one of the hardest things for people is realizing opportunities when they're right in front of you, and having the, the strength and the, I guess, just stupidness sometimes to just dive into it and go for it and trust your gut. And we've been really lucky with that. We really have.
Take that leap.
Yeah.
It's also just surrounding yourself with good people. You know what I mean? There's so many shops. There's so many shops that I know that just stay in their lane and they never leave their place, or they never go to another print shop, or they don't join these online communities or listen to podcasts or something like that. And it's like, so much is unknown that you like every single day. And like, that's one of the biggest things I take away from doing this fucking podcast is like, I get to talk to you guys and learn what to do. Like I could write down a little note of like open a retail store to show off abilities. And it's like, I wouldn't have necessarily thought of that if I didn't have you guys on.
Yeah.
And it's like, just constantly surround yourself with cool people to be like,
and people that you meet that you can also collab with, like we talked about before we brought the guys on. I mean, like I would have never have met Anthony at Stitches if he wouldn't have seen our stuff and posted from you and everything else, and then meeting him at the show. So, I mean, that's a really big thing.
So when I reached out to you guys and wanted to have you on the show, I didn't necessarily, like when we send out like kind of the questionnaire to see what you guys want to talk about, I usually get like, oh, talk about screen printing or talk about how we got going or whatever. You guys were like, no, I want to talk about sim process. I want to talk about how it's important and how this and that and the other thing. So I kind of had my own personal ideas about that discussion, and kind of the same thing with Seth is like, and I don't want every episode to have something to do with digital, but I do want to ask, like, are you finding, one, why do you guys feel like it's important and you want to talk about it? And two, are you feeling, as Seth especially, are you feeling like digital is encroaching onto your market where now you're not, one of 10,000 or something, you're more and more people are encroaching on what you offer because they're doing it in a shortcut way?
Yeah.
Like with a digital product?
I think there's some confusion in the merch world, and a lot of the confusion I think comes from just DTF becoming so prominent, and everybody can get their hands on it, and everybody can get a wholesale account, and so you have like all of these like garage heat press shops opening up, and I don't know. I think it's really
saturating
kind of mid-sized, screen printing businesses and decorated apparel industry businesses, and that's one of the reasons why I wanted to talk about it. Is I feel like that like DTF is awesome and it has its place, but I don't think in any way it really replaces screen printing.
Right.
I think that'll work itself out eventually, but it is something that I think is kind of in a weird gray place right now. That is, I don't know. It's worth, I guess, having conversation about.
I like the little grin at the end. he's like, I mean,
Well,
down with DTF. Down. I'm just kidding.
I think that it's one of those.
You sell it, but very strategically.
I think it's one of those things too, and this is like super like thinking out there is kind of like, think about what happened when people owned records, and then all of a sudden like cassettes and CDs and all this stuff came out, and they're like, fuck, like records sound so good, but I can do this and I can put whole albums on this and I don't have to flip it over. It's not this or the other thing or whatever. And then eventually people who really love quality and love the product go back to records.
Yeah.
So I think it's one of those things. It's like, okay, this is the shiny new thing. And then once they get it and people start wearing it all the time and realize what it is, they're going to be like, but I do really like the feel and the quality and this of the the sim process or the screen printing side of it. So again, I more than anybody, I feel like just try to say like, hey, this is a tool that is just another thing in your tool in your tool belt. You know, and me and Brian were having this discussion. We went for a walk around the lake today, and we were talking about DTF and whatever. I was talking about this episode I was going to do with you guys today. And he's like, yeah, but we get people all the time that are like, you know, an artist that is like normally orders like 1,000 pieces or 500 pieces or whatever of this 12 color print. But once in a while, they're like, oh, I just want 12 because I want to try this out, or I want to go to this show this weekend and do this thing. And it's like, a lot of times we'd have to say no or try to upsell them to be like, well, your minimum is 100 or this and this. And now it's like, yeah, cool, no problem. Like we just DTF it, we post press it the way that we want to post press it to where it feels close to screen printing or as close as possible. And the customer's happy. Like, and that's why, you know, I kind of was asking Seth earlier too, is like, do people come to you with saying, hey, I want to go to you because of the screen printing, or do they come to you because you make rad art and you can put it on a t-shirt? You know what I mean? Like, what is the end goal?
Yeah, I know in the DTF for me, just recently I actually just had a job come up where I did the whole thing DTF. And the reason is it was graffiti art. And it was something that the layering and the blending, just the amount of colors, just even with 12 color simulator or whatever, we wouldn't have gotten there. And you know, I did a sample for him with it, and he absolutely loved it. And I was like, cool.
Keep it.
So we're just going to sell it DTF, and boom, buddy. You know, he's taken care of. And again, he didn't need a whole lot. You know, he couldn't hit the minimum for simulated. But even with simulated, because we've run in this with a couple of tattoo artists that we do work for, that dude, those guys get on there in those Procreate tabs and they create this most beautiful artwork you've ever seen. But even with as high color simulated as we can do, you can't get there, you know?
You have to compress it to a degree. You know what I mean? Like it's almost like an artist sending you a high quality video or audio or something, and then you have to text message it to somebody.
That's
it's
exactly
like
right. So
you're compressing it to a degree, and it's like,
so we focused it on high art, or like if it's true, like an artist rendition, like a painter that just came in. I had a meeting with her, and it's a painting. She wants to do it on some tote bags and some t-shirts, and it's like, we're going to screen print a Tennessee kind of tri-starry left chest, and then we're going to do a big DTF on the back, because it's just something that it will not translate the layering and the brush strokes and the things that this digital can do. So like, I feel like that application for it makes sense, but like 9 times out of 10, we want to talk someone into, you know, screen printing because it just looks and feels so much better. But
yeah, and I fully agree with that. And I think it's one of those things too, is like, I feel like Brandon, the way he was talking and smirking, is like, you truly are passionate about the print process and the quality. And you know, it is like, we feel as printers that is our art. You know what I mean? Like we're kind of manufacturing to the most part. Like we're getting something in and we're producing shirt and we're sending it out. But when we get to do something like it's like a sim process or something, it feels more like a craft and an art project for us, and that we're showing our craft, not just like, oh, I burned 4 screens. It's, you know, spot color. I put it on press and we printed it. And there was no art. There was no questioning anything. There was no, oh, well, I'll get a better blend if I do this wet on wet, or, oh, if I change the squeegee angles and step them this way, I'll end up with this kind of print, or all, you know, all these highlights or whatever you want to do. Like, you don't get that on a regular job. You only really get that on these process prints because you're playing with shades and colors and everything else. So, I mean, do you feel like, and I guess Seth too, you can answer this, do you feel like you guys can go to certain customers and charge a premium? Like, it's not like if someone walks in the door and wants an 8 color spot color job, I'm like, this is the price. But I can't necessarily, I mean, I could, I guess, like say, well, this is a premium process that nobody else, not a lot of other people do. We'll do this 10 color sim process on this other design, but we can charge a premium for it. Yeah. Or are you finding now, like, you definitely can't charge a premium for it because they're just going to go down the road to the guy who's going to DTF it?
Like, yeah, I don't know. It kind of goes back and forth. If you have art that they can't get from anywhere else, you can charge them a little bit.
Well, that's the thing that you have is the artists. Like they can't go somewhere else because they're going you for the art. They're not necessarily going for you for just the printing.
Well, I talked to a big client that I've been trying to get for 6 years this morning. They finally answered the phone, thank God. And she, obviously I'm not going to say anything, but this, she, he, they person was like, your market's saturated. We don't need any more partners. Sorry. Almost hung up on me. Thank God she didn't, because I kind of twisted it and talked about her art and all that stuff. And she was like, oh, that's cool. So yeah, back to your point is, it's saturated, but be different. If you've got cool art, different stuff like Twine, they have really cool art, cool stuff, like their little retail and stuff. You can't get it anywhere else. People are probably going to pay a little bit more of a premium. Or, if you tell them, hey, I have to do 144 shirts for you to hit screen print or whatever, a lot of people will be like, that's just a lot of shirts, but I trust you. And then they'll do it. So it's more that trust because they know you have a good product. Sure. So I think that has a lot to do with it as well.
Yeah, I think that a lot of times when you deal with a simulated process customer, you have to deal with an educated customer. And if they're not educated, you have to educate them on what they're getting and show them samples of it and show them, just how the art of screen printing ties into what they're trying to do. And I think even though like DTF can achieve certain things very spot on with, the recreation of digital art, it doesn't get the same color depth on the product to me. And I think that to some people that's more important. It's almost like realer than real sometimes with simulated process because of how vibrant you can get with screen printing inks. Mm-hmm. And also too, just the difference in like the way that, a simulated process print is going to have more of a matte finish or even have like a sculpture like effect to where you can tell that something is built there.
Yeah.
The layers. And I think that, that is a really cool thing with screen printing that you don't get with DTF.
And the feel, good God.
I was about to say it. You beat me to it. I was going to say the hand is just disgusting. No offense.
Sticker.
The DT, I mean, the technology has come a long way, granted.
It has.
It is not a screen print. It's just,
your retailers, like you guys, do y'all have DTF in your showroom, or you do probably to show it? I guess
we do have a sample, so we do shampoo.
Yeah.
Several different.
I would think that you
would. Puff guy back here, and I even pulled some samples. But we do, but we really do try to strategically sell that product, and it's just because we really do. We want to screen print it,
like 50 pieces or less. That's a great thing. Yeah, there's a place for it.
Yeah, because we actually have pretty low. I'd say our quantity minimum for simulated starts at 73 over 8 colors.
Oh, there you go.
We've got a still, I'd say, from a lot of shops, a pretty low quantity minimum requirement, even for a 12 color print. Because there's some shops that do that are 144. And everyone has their reasonings and everything.
Oh yeah,
sure. But yeah, so we try to make it cost effective, even though it is a more complicated process.
Yeah.
Real quick. I mean, it doesn't have to be real quick, but I want to nerd on this a little bit. You were talking about inks. Is there a specific ink that you guys kind of are happy with now that you've trial and errored a couple different things and now you've landed on this is how we like to print these things?
Well, Wilflex's PF mixing system, that's really probably what we're using for simulated process.
Are you using Epic Rio? Or what you say?
Tried to Rio.
We've used Rio, but we don't really use it for simulated process. I think it's actually, I said PF, I think it's actually their MX series.
MX, yeah, that's right.
Oh, yeah.
We had for like 10 years, we did the Wilflex Epic Equalizer system, which I don't think they call it that anymore.
I think it's now Epic Rio, isn't it?
I think they switched everything over to Rio because they were trying to do the whole low cure thing.
Yeah,
so I think a lot of those are low cure.
We had to get away from those because they were curing
sticky
in our shop. Because
in screens
in Tennessee, and I'm sure you've experienced this in Alabama, dude, our humidity here and our heat is horrible, insane, and so
they cook in the screens.
It would gum up in the screen
in
the middle of a job, and you'd have stuff messing up. And you're like, what is happening? It's like curing.
And then you're like, wait a minute, why am I dry stroking? And you go over there, and it's just like solid.
Full of it. Yeah.
You pull it out, it's like cement, and you're like, well, there you go. And then you got your glove, and you're trying to take it off, and your glove's like hot from the hot. Yeah.
We've never gone down that route. Like we've had reps and we've had all kinds of people trying to get us to switch to some low cure thing or whatever. And it's like, nah, I like the standard cure. The thing is with a lot of the low cure too, and again, this might just be me and I've heard it through the grapevine, so I'm not going to say I fucking know for sure, but the low cure stuff seems to be way more tacky, especially like even with your low cure whites and all this, poly whites and stuff. The stuff is so tacky. So doing a lot of stuff like wet on wet, you have like we've had way more issues of like screens popping and sticking and everything else. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I've always liked the standard cure inks. So
Yeah.
I'm
Well, down
just
here with the
gonna
low cure,
stay
we
on
don't have dryers. We just
right.
pull it off the press, put it
you
in the
just
box.
roll the doors open and let everything just warm
We
up
pull
and
it
bake
off the
inside.
pallet and we're like,
Some
and we go and we do. We're like, seems good, and we just throw it in the box. Yeah.
That's it. I like it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we have a lot of different inks in the shop for different reasons, but I mean, we try to stay away from low cure where we can. We have a few Monarch inks that I think maybe cure a little bit lower that we specifically go after for opacity. There's a few.
I was going to say the reason, and I don't want to shit on Wolflex because Wolflex has been great and whatever, but we switched to Monarch for a whole system because of the opacity issues. Like we used Wolflex for years and years, and we got so used to the fact that certain colors, like a royal blue or a yellow or anything that had fluorescent pigments in it, we called fruit roll-up prints because we would always have to double hit it because that blue would look translucent.
Yeah.
It would never have a great laydown, so we'd have to like hit it multiple times or do a fatter pass or this or that or the other thing. And then Monarch came around and they were like, it was when Aaron was there and he got super nerdy. We talked on the phone for like 2 hours about science of it and everything else. And I was like, dude, what's going to make me want to try your ink is if you just, these Pantones are the ones that we have the most trouble with. I was like, if you send me the pigments or whatever it is that you guys mix, ready for use, whatever, I will mix those colors and I will make a print. Like I will do a screen that's got all our test shit on it and I will put them side by side. And if yours beats this one, I'll buy your whole system. And every ink we tried was like, yep, this looks great on the first time, like, double stroke or single stroke, whatever. And then Wolflex one was over here and it beat them. And I was like, all right, send me the whole system. And it was like, we literally just like gave away all the mixing colors and everything and brought theirs in. And we've loved it ever since. And this isn't a Monarch plug. Like, sorry, I'm not trying to sell anybody anything. They used to be a sponsor of the show, and then all of a sudden fell off the face of the earth. So, again, I can say
Back
whatever
to
I
Epic
want.
Rio, it is. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, no.
Just kidding.
I mean,
JK.
they were great. Again, I have no issue. And we use their inks, and I love their inks, so I'll talk
Yeah.
about it all day long. But
That's awesome.
it's worked really well for us. So
I will say Epic Rio is extremely like vibrant. Like, I don't know if you do like really bright jobs, like, cause along the beach, we do a lot of beach stuff. And like everybody wants those bright colors. Like you think Margaritaville, right? It's like super bright
Dude, you
blues,
fucking love
greens,
Margaritaville.
red.
Make me
Because
wanna-
when I talk to people about resort wear, it's bright
Yeah.
and they think
Yeah,
of
yeah.
that. Yeah.
I fully agree. And that was the same with us. Like all of our, these comic book shops and these bright poppy designs and whatever. That's what most people were wanting. They were wanting all this, like, they want a purple on a shirt to pop, like it's coming off the shirt.
Yeah.
And all these things. And that was the biggest problem is it was like with these other inks, we had to like, hit it twice or spin around again or something. And it was like, fuck, this sucks.
Yeah.
There's definitely, we use Monarch for several comic book style kind of old bootleggy 90s prints we do for a certain client that you need that extra opacity, that real bright pop, and those really do work a lot better for those.
Right.
I agree with that 100%.
Is there anything else that you guys do specific for those kinds of jobs? Like, are you doing any like discharge underbasing? Are you doing anything special, or are you just kind of?
We do a real high mesh underbase though for stuff like that. So real thin. Even sometimes a halftone underbase, depending on what the design is, or like something real, so that you don't have that. You got a good base, but it's I don't know. It's not so thick, and it
Exactly.
kind of gives it that more painterly look when it's
Throw it on like a
it's sitting
230
out.
or something.
Yeah. So and Nick, our production manager, does a good job. I mean, he's certain colors and things he uses that he does like a certain mixes on, or he has his own formulas for things that are kind of
That's
outside
awesome.
that is kind of unique, and it can be frustrating because you're like, you're the only one that can do this, bro. Like,
Right.
but
You got to get those SOPs, man.
yeah. So if
We
you-
have that too. Like we have a specific white that we call like underbase white, where we've treated it a certain way, or we've added certain additives, or we've done whatever to get more of a thin laydown, so it's not like a bulletproof print by the time it's done. But yeah, the funny thing is one of the things I learned when I went to Andy Anderson's, because I was asking him about all these different, prints and different shirt styles and everything else. And, forever ago, we used to basically do something, say it was a sim process shirt or something on like even a white tee or a light colored shirt or whatever. You'd print directly on the shirt. And he's like, nope, even if on a white shirt, we will do a white underbase, on a high mesh or something, because then it gives it that consistent base. It gives that like nothing's being altered by the shirt. It's just on its own plasticky or whatever base. And then you build the colors from there. So,
The base has been the hardest thing to figure out over the years. I mean, we weren't just like, I was saying off the rip, or we weren't perfect, obviously. I mean, because we started off with our 10 color sportsman, and oh my God, we were trying to, do everything with one flash. So, I mean, that was a monster. I mean,
35 spins.
Oh my God, dude. We had to do, revolve and all that stuff because we didn't know what we were doing. I didn't know how big of a press to go. I mean, at the time,
Biggest you
trying
can
to
fit
buy.
is always the answer.
True that. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I was like a 10 color press. That sounds good. That sounds like we could do it. And we're like, oh, we'll try to step at 9, and like try to but yeah, no, our biggest thing, and we finally have started even figuring out to this day, is our bases. We just kind of moved to doing like 2 bases instead of 1 base, and it's been very, very helpful. So on sim
What do you mean by
stuff,
2 bases?
a lot of times we'll do like, like a thicker base with a thicker, like, I don't know, like a 155 and then do like a 230
like,
for halftones.
Right.
as
So
your
it's almost
second hit.
like the way that I think about that is with black ink, because we get that all the time where someone wants a shirt that's got like black halftones.
Real quick though, because I will forget. The reason why we're doing that is because we'd always double stroke the first one and it slows down press time. So then we moved to 2 whites. So we'd always do double stroke, and I'm like, la-di-dee, la-di-da, I can freaking load a shirt, run around it 5 times by the time it does the second stroke. And I was like, talking even with Anthony, and Anthony was like, dude, we're just do 2 screens, like just put 2 screens. And I was like, how have I not thought about that?
Right.
I just sound, I'm like, no, I have to hit a screen, I have to hit flash. Like, no, you can do a screen flash. So anyways, that's until we got 3 flashes, and that's a whole nother story. But
yeah, and like I was trying to say with the black, is it's like, you might have a bold text, but then the rest of it is this like halftone of a face or something. And it's like, you don't want to, like, if you did 1 stroke of black, a lot of times it looks thin and it's not quite like in the fibers and everything. And it looks weird, like you pull apart and everything else. So like doing 2 screens of like, like a 156 and a 230 or whatever, then you're getting the 156 is getting all the big bold spots, and then the 230 is doing all the halftone stuff. So it's kind of the same thing with the base.
I love those highlight black screens too on certain simulator prints. It's just like, it just fills in all those little gaps and just makes it all perfect. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, for sure.
Even the client's like, I don't want black in the print. You're like, dude, trust me, just put the black.
Or how many times you're like that top white, when the top white hits, like if you have like a moonshine bottle and you just want like that one little piece that just has that little sparkle, you hit that top white and you're like, damn, that made it pop, It's one of those little moments
I
too.
love it.
Yeah.
Have you guys tried anything with like stepping inks or changing like Tony Palmer was talking about this, and we started trying it recently where one, our off contact is slightly tilted so that it has more of a peel, instead of having like on our G3, it's like, I can't remember what he's got off contact on right now, but instead of like 1 on everything, it's like 1 and then 2. So the angle is slightly tipped to where you're kind of peeling on every one. So you're not pulling every ink up every time, like straight up. It's more got that peel so that stuff so it lays down better and has all these other things. And then also on top of that is, say you're doing a I don't know, 10 color sim process wet on wet or something. Like he was mostly talking about wet on wet. So what with sim process, a lot of time you're doing wet on wet. So every
You sure do say wet on wet a lot.
Oh, wet on wet. Do you want me to whisper it? Does that make the hairs on the back of your neck stand up?
It kind of got me going. I'm kind of Randy.
Is kind of like making the angle more progressive on every color so that when they're stepping on each other as they go around. So it's not all the same angle squeegee the whole way around. They're every single one goes slightly different. And I can try to put it, I'll send it to Chad and see if he can put it in this episode or put a link or something. But he sent me a PDF of it. Like, this is what you do. And this is the progression. And also something about the squeegee blades getting softer as they go kind of thing. So there's like a whole technical
that's really cool.
part of all that stuff that's really cool to dive into. And again, that's what I'm saying. Like, sim process is one of those things where you can be like, oh yeah, I'll just throw in 12 screens and we'll just like blend them, or we'll just do like index steps or something. And it's like, nah, dude, there's like 35 other steps that you need to learn or figure out or whatever. And it's all like, we can say that all day long, but then it's also too like screen mesh and tension is like enormous for that stuff, because you could have like a low tension screen and be like, well, I'm having dot gain issues like crazy, you know, and it's like, oh cool, well it's because you have low tension screens and it's just dragging and picking up ink everywhere and all these other things. So
I like that idea. That's really cool, because like the head 6 or 7, you know, you start hearing that like you're having a conversation. Yeah, it's like pow. Bow, and you're like, oh man, it's the freaking screens. But it's just that wet on wet, just like after running, or you haven't been running long enough, you know, it just hasn't been going, it's not warmed up, and it's like bow, bow, and you're like, give it one more rotation, it'll go away.
Well, another thing, like Tony was saying, we talked about this, was kind of like, you know, a lot of shops get that pop or that smack, and they're like, oh well, let's speed up the squeegee blade, or let's slow it down, or let's, you know, slow the press, or the ink's too hot, or all these other things. And it's like, well, it could just be because it's not peeling. You know what I mean? You're trying to shear off that ink in the screen, but if you don't get it all the way, when the screen goes straight up, it's just like pulling. It's like a suction cup kind of thing. And it's like, he's like, oh, you could put quarters like in your screen clamps, like 2 quarters on the front, and then clamp it in. And then you've got that slight angle to it to where when it comes up, it's like pops up rather than the smack.
You know, that's so wild though. You're right though. There's a million different ways to do this.
Right. And it's like,
I think you just blew my mind.
But that's what I'm saying is like, you don't know these things until you get out there and you've learned from other fucking printers. Like you can't learn this in a vacuum.
Yeah. And that's why we all appreciate the shirt show.
Oh yeah. See, I sit here and I facilitate like a conversation about screen printing. I am in no way saying I know what the fuck I'm talking about. So
no, I think I'm just saying like in general. I mean, like you
go out and try these things. Yeah. And again, like every single day here, I learn something and I take it to Bill, and he's like, "Yeah, this sounds cool in theory," and we try it, and it either works or it doesn't. And if it works, we add it to our shop. If it doesn't work, we fucking throw it away. So, I don't know. Do you guys have any more that you want to add to the sim process conversation, or
how many colors do y'all typically do, like high counts and stuff like that?
It'd be a 12 color.
12 color?
Yeah, that would be. I mean,
how many flashes and stuff are y'all typically doing with it?
We have 2 flashes.
Mm-hmm.
What press? Let's get into real quick. What presses do you have? Because you did mention you had one rock, and I want to know why.
Yeah.
You decided to stab us in the back.
Well, I tell you what's funny is like they like basically gave us the weirdest deal on that. I think that guy got fired afterwards. Honestly, he kind of talked us into it. It was like what, 2017?
Yeah, it was around 2017.
I think Brandon knows more details, but it was just like, all right, we'll try, man.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
We bought the rock actually specifically at the time because it fit into our shop size wise. Mm-hmm. So that rock that we have is actually a 6 color with 8 stations, and it was a small footprint, but it had a large area.
Yeah. And that's the thing, like, again, we're joking, like, talking about rock and stabbing in the back or whatever, but, I mean, I like my equipment because that's what I have, but it's also one of those things of, like, I have M&R and I love M&R because every part of my shop, like, you know, screen room, everything is all one company and one service thing and one whatever. Why? Well, you kind of told me real quick, but, like, is that the main reason why you went with that press, is because it had a smaller footprint but with the same printability as another press, or was it
Yeah, we
for any
started
other
off
reason?
with a 10 color Sportsman, and then at the time we wanted to add another press, and we were between, looking at I think a Diamondback at the time. So it was the Diamondback was similar in size, but then it stepped down in some of the things that the Sportsman had that they were doing at the time. Like I think it actually still had pneumatic print stroke instead of the electronic
Electric, yeah.
base, and so we didn't really like that about the Diamondback, and that's what we started looking around like at other presses like MHM, and that was I think they were really expensive. So Rock was kind of like, where MHM might have been like the BMW, Rock was like the Volkswagen that was still kind of like fancy, but
Yeah, they sold you on the whole like, it's almost like Windows and Mac, it was like that new cool kid, Ryanette's pushing it hard. Like it was like,
Oh, come on. They had beers. They had sunglasses and
yeah.
partying. Dude, they almost got me. They almost got me.
So
I had it. Dude, I pulled up real quick. I pulled up in the M&R booth, Dylan, with a rock hat because they almost got me. And Maggie and all of them were like, what are you doing? And I was like, I walked over there. They gave me a seltzer. I got a little tipsy. They threw a hat on me. I almost signed a contract. I don't know what I did. And all
Again,
right, sorry.
I love.
Sorry. I know I do.
I love both companies, and I
do
feel
too.
like
I
they
do too.
each have benefits, and they each have some downfalls. I mean, again, I've never been a rock guy. I've never really ran any of that equipment. I see, M&R has that global stuff, which is kind of like the European style press, which is very similar to the rock press. And I've been there and I played with it. I almost got a rival to replace my Sportsman because I could have done exactly what you're saying. I could have, where my 8-color Sportsman is, I could have got a 10-color rival that's the same footprint. Yeah. So I was like, oh, that'd be cool to have the extra colors. But at the time, they still had the Euro style squeegees and flood bars. And I was like, well, I don't want to have a whole different set of squeegees and flood bars. And at the time, they couldn't fit the tri-lock on it either. And I was like, well, I don't want to do that because and then you have to manually register every job on that press. And it just didn't work out. I was like, whatever, I don't want to do this. But again, like for certain jobs, I like the idea of honeycomb pallets versus the solid aluminum because of like holding heat and this and this. And I mean, there's benefits to it. Again, like
They're
footprint,
super light,
they're quiet, like, they're whatever. But that's the other thing not a lot of people think about too with M&R presses is they're flat. Like I can see over the press. I can see all the print heads. I can see what's going on. And that style, like the Rock is like a whole thing in the middle. It's like you can't see all the way around the press. So there's a lot of different things. Again, they're both, to me, it's that Ford versus Chevy conversation of like,
it's kind of evolved to be like a weirdo press. Like it does a lot of the stuff that they don't want to put on the other press. Like it prints all of our tags and tote bags and weird stuff, or, you do get a nice 20+ inch flood stroke and that's kind of nice off the gate. Cause I've got certain jobs will run oversized stuff on it up to 3-color, without it being oversized per se. We do bandanas on it. We do.
I was going to say bandanas is what I see a lot of people with that doing and buying the pallets and everything.
It kind of just does the crap that we don't want to put on the other presses. I don't
know if that's a good thing to say or if that's a bad thing to say or what.
Yeah, I think it serves its purpose great. And again, we have one dude on it right now. Like he just crushes all the kind of stuff and like
we've all got a press like that. I think I got a workhorse that we did that with.
Yeah.
Quick question before we get into kind of the last piece of this is with the bandanas. Do you do a lot of bandanas, or is that something that's just kind of like you got a little bit into?
Bandanas, so on the
fizzled out, hadn't it a little bit? Yeah, seeing that
on the Rock, we have to we could outfit it with more oversized pallets to be able to run them faster, but we are right now just running it on a single pallet. So
okay.
It goes pretty slow when we do have to run bandanas. So it's not really something that we push.
It's something where I know a couple shops that got it really heavy into bandanas as far as like buying all the equipment. Like realistically, you'd have to buy bigger screens. I'd have to buy a bigger scoop coater for my Unicoat. I would have to buy the, whatever they are, 24, 22, I can't remember, pallets for the press. And then again, like, do those palettes and the screens fit on every head, or do you have to do like the every other palette print mode where, you know, you're doing every other and whatever? But the thing is these people who do these bandanas are like flooded with work for bandanas because it's not every shop that can do a bandana. Right. So I'm like, man, bandanas would be so fun to print because most of them are going to be one color. And if they're not, it's not going to be, you're not going to do a 12 color bandana print. Yeah. So it's like, and they're so easy to load and whatever because it's just the same square size every time. And it's like, I kind of want to get into it, to be honest. And that's why I was asking you, is like, if it's profitable. But you're like, actually, it's gone down, I think. And I'm like, fuck.
Well, and that's for us, it has. Like, we don't have very many clients requesting them anymore. It had its moment. We were doing like, God, we sold all kinds of bandanas.
We actually bought the bigger screens. We bought everything to accommodate it on the rock specifically. The only next step we never ended up taking was buying more than one oversized pallet to do the skip pallet function. Mm-hmm. And we almost got there, but then it got to the point to where we weren't selling it enough to justify, going down that road. So now when we get the random bandana job here and there, we do print it, but it just takes forever because we're doing it on a single pallet. And then,
I don't farm much out, but when I do, it's bandanas.
Yeah, we do actually quite a bit of dye sublimated bandanas. Mm-hmm. So
that's
that
cool.
was another thing too. A lot of people don't love the way that a screen printed bandana feels. So if you get like a polyester dye sub bandana,
it's that no hand. They love that.
A little softer.
Yeah.
Well, we kind of talked about some, nerdy print stuff, but do you guys happen to have any shop hacks that you want to share, being print wise or business wise?
Yeah. So in the shop, we talked about this actually. And the one thing that we kind of came up with that's random, but we thought could be pretty cool and useful was actually about our screen racks. So this may have been said before, or common knowledge, but we actually bought baker's racks and modified them using just hardware from the local hardware store to make them a little bit wider to accommodate screens. Mm-hmm. And the reason why we did that was the baker's racks we bought from like a cooking supply store, and the cost was around like $250 a rack.
Instead of like 4 or 5 or 6.
Yeah. So that was like a pretty cool way that we were able to just load the shop up with screen racks, which made us a lot more efficient. And, we saved a lot of money by going the baker's rack route.
Mm-hmm. We've done that before with a baker's rack. I think I got a couple locally or on Amazon, or I can't remember, but basically you're saying we took the actual screen we wanted to put in it. And the reason why we got these ones specifically is because we wanted racks for oversized screens, like the 2536s is what we call oversized screens. And I just put a meshless screen on top and bottom and drilled holes through, and then just put like 2 or 3 washers on top, like in between them, so that it had the perfect spacing for those screens all the way down, because it was that screen that was used as a divider between the racks. Nice. I've seen people use like PVC or something too to like cut the width, and then just ran a rod through. There's a lot of things like that you can do that to save on a custom built. Basically, the difference I think is like the baker's racks are like 18 or 20 screens, and then like a screen printing one that you pay a little extra for is like 24 screens or something. Mm-hmm. So I mean, for 4 extra screens, you're saving hundreds of dollars on a screen rack.
No, for sure.
Did you have any other ones?
Yeah, there was one other random one. We found these towels on Amazon. They're called Tubbo towels. And they actually,
we love them.
Yeah, they'll take ink off of anything. Like you can damn near like wipe wet ink off of a shirt with them. They take ink off so well. I think they're made for like painting and things like that.
Are they the ones that smell like citrus?
Yeah, they do smell good. They're in like a little cylinder. It's like yellow and black.
I've seen screen places sell them. I mean, you're cheating on baby wipes, but I get it.
We bought tons from Screen Process. Those things that you're talking about. The tub with you pull it or whatever. And then Dylan talked about his shop hack with baby wipes. And I switched to baby wipes, and I was like, oh my God, this is the best thing ever.
The thing is, I think the ones that they're getting are better in the sense of they'll take ink off better. Like what I see a lot of people,
you get a little grit to them, right?
Well, what I see a lot of people use those ones for specifically is getting ink off their hands. Because if I get ink on my hands now and I use a baby wipe, it gets the majority of it off, but it's still like embedded in my fingerprints or whatever.
I use it for just like squeegees and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, we have them
like quick
everywhere.
Wipe, just quick wipes.
Every area of the shop has baby wipes because it wipes up emulsion, it wipes up ink, it wipes everything. But I'm saying, like, it's like buying that, what is it called? That orange stuff that mechanics use to like clean their Gojo. Yeah. It's basically that in a wipe form.
That's exactly, and we use Gojo at certain stations for like cleaning up hands and whatever. But we have like a tub of towel, I think, at every press. And then I use it a lot when I'm doing flat stock printing because I can literally clean my whole squeegee, my mixing spatulas and all that stuff, my hands, and I'm the whole thing's cleaned up in like seconds. And it's pretty nice.
Yeah. What's it called? Is it Tub-O?
I think it's
Tub-O towels.
Yeah, Tub-O towels. and we buy them by the case, and if you do that, they're pretty cheap compared to some of the name brand ones that are through some of the supply houses and stuff that we use.
Yeah, the ones I'm buying are probably way too expensive.
Yeah. Because I think I'm getting a case of baby wipes I buy them from Sam's Club. I looked on Amazon, and Amazon's are a couple dollars more, but the ones from Sam's Club, I want to say it's like $22 a case or something.
That's amazing.
Definitely cheaper. Yeah, that's
yeah. And its case is whatever, like, I can't remember, like 20 big things of baby wipe or more. I don't remember the specifics. I'm just saying the cheapest thing I found and the best quality and feel and smell and whatever were the ones that I got from Sam's Club. So I mean, same as Costco. They're probably all the same. I just get the unscented ones. For a while, they were out, and I got the cucumber smelling ones, and everyone was like, "These are weird. This makes me this makes my tummy feel weird. Don't buy them."
And then you show up the next day with the sensitive ones.
Yeah, I'm like, all right, let's do unscented. Christina had a great idea because I tried to finish the show off with the shop hack and these quick takes, but she had another one that kind of would go that I want to try starting out after shop hacks is greatest shop fail.
Oh, that's a good one.
Dang, that is a good one.
Everyone has that one that's burned into their brain of like, fuck. Like,
I'm sure everyone's got the, misspelled
word. I should have done that when you said it.
Oh, I don't know. I know we have a bunch. You don't do this for 15 years without screwing up a lot of stuff.
What's sad is when you have so many.
It doesn't have to be just print order too. It could be like, you left a flash on and burnt your palette, or
definitely have had
burned the shop down or something.
Yeah.
I think the biggest one I remember is it was a black and white image, and it was something that we had printed like many times, and the screen somehow ended up reversed.
Oh, that was a good one. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
The print was entirely inverted, and for some reason we were able to print, I want to say it was close to 500 shirts.
We ran the whole thing inverted,
and for some reason it was so close visually that it confused everyone's brains, and no one saw it or noticed it until one guy did, and then it was just way too late.
Oh man,
this one isn't my greatest failure, but it's the one that sticks in my brain, and I won't name names, but I remember because I'm in the office, I'll walk through the shop throughout the day a couple times, whatever. I remember they were printing on one of the presses. They were printing again, I think it was like 500 shirts or something. And I walked out into the shop and I looked at the end of the dryer and I saw the shirt and I was like scratching my head. I was like, please God, tell me they didn't print this entire order this way. And I walked over to the press and music was playing. They were talking to each other. They were printing one of those shirts where it has all the sponsors on the back, like all the little logos all over on the front.
Oh no.
And it was it was 500, like they were just on the last box, like about to be done. I was like, guys, how can you fuck this up? Like
that's a good one. That's
known to be a back print. Like
sponsor front, yeah.
Nice. The whole order. It's like 500 shirts. Like I could see if you did 50 and you were like, oh fuck, I forgot. Like we have to reprint 50. It's like you did 500.
Yeah,
with the sponsors on the front.
Oh my God.
Yeah, ours was similar to that. The fact that not only the front and the back got printed wrong, so like they ran pocket prints too. So
that's the
on
worst.
The pocket and full back. completely wrong, and it's a damn 2-color imprint. So
what's the worst is when you do like a 10-color front, 8-color back, and then you do a sleeve, and the sleeve is what messes up the whole order.
Oh my god, yeah.
Yeah.
I talk about this
because they're crooked a little bit or something, because they're just not. Oh
just something's wrong.
Yeah, I was saying.
I've talked about this before, and again, I'm sorry, I'm just taking over this horrible mistake because I do them all the time. When I worked in Georgia at the shop there, again, I was like first year there, whatever. It was this really big order, and I was doing the artwork too, because that's back then I did a lot of artwork, and I did the fronts, backs, and then the artwork I did for the sleeve. And again, this is like stupid brain, where it was like established. They emailed me and said, "Oh, we're established in 1994 or something." And like when I was designing it, I wrote established, but I did the current year it was, like right now. Like it'd be like right now if I made a design for somebody and it said established 2025. Yeah. And then I just put it out and said, "Hey, this is the art." And they printed again, like the front multicolor, back front multicolor, and then did all the sleeves. And the customer got them and was like, and it was dumb, like a 1-color stupid little thing on the sleeve of like just text that said like established, whatever. And we had to redo the entire order because you don't want to blow out, 1,000 sleeves or whatever the hell it was. And it was like, that was the first time I got yelled at as an employee of like, "You're lucky you're not fired right now," basically. Yeah.
I got a crazy one real quick.
Yeah, for sure.
So we printed a design for this client, and they bought it for 2 years straight. Okay? 2 years, must I mind you. We've been printing it. So it's been thousands and thousands of shirts in the gift shop in a very big place. And I get a phone call one day, and they're like, "Hey, we just had somebody in the gift shop, our gift shop manager, call us and tell us that country is spelt wrong." And I went, "What?" The O and the U was like flipped and all this stuff. And I was like, "But you've been buying it for 2 seasons, and there's been thousands of them." And they went, "Yeah, well, they're spelt wrong." And dude, we went back. We've been printing it for years. The client never saw it. We never saw it. It was one random person in fucking Austin City that went and got a shirt and all excited, and they looked at it and they go, "Country spelt wrong." Dude, that is crazy. So
that's when you say that's just how we say it.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah. Hey, the Paul Mall. Paul Mall, like he was saying earlier.
Yeah. Was it Coors Light or something that just did that misspelling in the Times Square or whatever, and then they ended up making like a whole campaign around it, like, and then now they have a case of beer called Case of the Mondays or whatever. Because
I'd have to see it.
It was like a whole thing. Yeah, I don't know.
Isn't that what happened when that trend with the hat with the the name upside down? Like it started from that one brand, and they got all their hats wrong embroidered,
and now it's a thing.
Sold them anyways, and then it
is that what happened? I've always wanted to know, why is it upside down?
I heard that today on some other podcast, and I was like, I haven't looked into it. It might be BS, but I was like, well, that kind of makes sense, I guess.
I was in your neck of the woods up in Nashville, and they've got this really nice hat store next to like this little market, and like this nice truck that had all these little flowers all over it.
You're talking about Twine.
Yeah, probably. It's probably Twine.
I hope so.
Yeah. Well, it was in Nashville. I just can't remember exactly where it's at. It's next to the hot chicken place.
That's at every corner.
There's a lot of those.
Yeah. Well, y'all know what I'm saying. It's It's right across from the stadium, or not the stadium, but the center where they play hockey and stuff.
Okay.
Anyways,
it's in the new Fifth and Broad area.
Yeah, it's brand new looking. They got a little truck and stuff. It's really nice, open kind of market area. Yep. It's beautiful, dude. But I walked in there and I was looking at all these nice hats. We all know where to get the hats, but still, they're nice. And I was looking at them all, and I almost bought one. And I was like, I just don't want to buy one. It's because I didn't get it, right? And I told my wife, we were together, and I go, it's because everything's upside down. I was like, I don't. And then the lady came around. She's like, "Oh, that's what's in." And I was like, "What?" I was like, "Everything's upside down." So that's pretty cool that you brought that up, because I was like, where are they even coming from? Like,
yeah, that's the weirdest trend. I mean, we're guilty of it. We have upside down,
a bunch of upside down.
We're suckers too.
Whatever
Do it.
sells, dude.
Yeah,
Whatever's
whatever sells,
working.
you know?
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, I got a
It's
hat that's
stupid,
upside
but-
down. I got one upside down now. It says golf. It's just
I did
upside
too.
down.
I got a Vols hat that's upside down.
Upside down. Oh man, now we got to end the show.
I know.
I'm messing, dude. I'm messing.
We're all messed up. All right, quick takes real quick, and then I'll let you guys get back to work. And this is for both of you guys. What shirt has your shop printed that you are the most proud of?
Like design wise, or just like
Anything, something that you're like, I'm glad we did this. Like, this is one that sticks in my mind of like, hell yeah. Like an example for me is like we printed Tom Segura's Ball Hog Tour
that's
shirts. And
That's
like that's an
cool.
awesome one. Or we printed like the original Star Wars shirt
Oh,
for like the
nice.
crew who made the original
I'd have been
movie.
pumped on that. That's really cool. I'm a huge
So like
nerd.
those are ones that I'm like, this
Awesome
is
story.
gonna be on the wall for forever kind of thing.
Yeah, I would say for me, the one that sticks out, there was a pretty good size run of shirts that we did for the band Tool. And it wasn't directly for Tool, but it was for somebody else. But I mean, it was for the band Tool. We just,
Were you contacted by the designer that they use for all of their stuff?
No, we were contacted by their merchandise company.
Okay.
So it was one of those kind of deals.
That's sweet.
But it was just like the old, I'm gonna butcher it, but lateralis.
Like the eye or the body.
It was the anniversary of the album, right?
Yeah, and the Inside Out guy.
Yeah.
That whole like art that you see on all that stuff.
Dude, that's sick.
Those are some fun simulator prints for sure.
The actual artist who does all this stuff for Tool has reached out to us before, and I think we're still in talks or whatever, but he wanted to make his own line of stuff that's basically Tool shirts because it's his art anyway.
Oh, that's cool.
So yeah, that made me think of, because he sent us stuff of that he wanted, and I was like, these are just Tool shirts. Like,
yeah.
it doesn't say Tool, but it's 100% what this is. Like when people see that art, they
That
know
art is so
it's Tool.
recognizable. Yeah,
Right.
there's no one else. Yeah, you can think of.
Honestly, would be really fun to print. I mean,
Yeah.
it being sim process and stuff, that would be sick.
Yeah, it'd be really
That's
cool.
really cool shirt, guys.
Yeah, that one shirt in particular, it was actually on a tri blend, and so it was simulator process, but it was also distressed with a soft hand. So I don't know, I was really proud with the way that the
Hell
product
yeah.
fully came together.
And that's a difficult one to do too, saying you're doing it on a tri-blend. Like, good luck not scorching that or
Yeah,
melting
that's
those.
rough.
Or
Ugh,
for sure.
it's horrible.
what about you? What's your, Brandon gave his. What's yours?
Man, God, there's so, we've printed so many random things. I think one, and it's not a t-shirt, but I tell you which one I really was pumped to work on, and it just was such a like throwback of me being such a emo punker kid back in the day is Chad from Newfound Glory lives here locally, and we've become good buddies, and we do a bunch of stuff tied in with some of his side projects. But I got to do a Newfound Glory poster for a special acoustic set they did in downtown Franklin at the theater, and it was just really cool. I mean, it was just, the whole night was cool, and just
That's
I don't know, like it just that was our jam, like that's just.
It's cool because
That's
it's
my
a
world.
part of like their history that you got to be a little bit of a part of.
Yeah, I think stuff like that's really cool, and it's it's just it comes full circle. You just I remember skateboarding to that Sticks and Stones album, and how this dude's like tied into the historic downtown, and he does this whole movie gang thing that we've done merch and posters for, and I don't know, it's just fun, man. So I think things like that, but again, I think more so than the prints, I think the relationships are my favorite component of this whole thing. I really do. Like we have met some just amazing people, and we've got some really cool clients that we've been friends with now, or we've been working with for years and years and years. And it's like, that to me, I think is more important than even the prints in a long,
I agree.
That's
And
what's long lasting.
It sounds like name droppy, but like I love that too. Like as cringe as that is like having contacts in my phone that most people don't have.
Yeah.
Where it's like,
It's
we
different.
do all this stuff for these like big touring comedians or whatever. It's like, oh yeah, I have like this guy's number. I can text him right now. It's like,
That's cool. It's fun. And like, you've earned it. You've put in the work, and you've, it's just, I don't know. There's something to be said for that. I think that's pretty cool.
yeah.
that is
I love
neat.
it. What?
What biggest, coolest?
Margaritaville.
No, I one you're most
Shut
proud
up.
of.
Yeah, Dylan. I didn't even think about it. Well, bright colors. That's why I said it.
I know.
Uh,
Jimmy Buffett.
yeah, I could tell you one lately that's really cool. Pearl Harbor. We did a really cool bomber Pearl Harbor plane.
That's dope.
I can't remember. I'm not like super big into planes, but it was one of these like cool bomber planes. I think okay, all right. I already know.
Was it in the
is.
style of your guys' normal artists? Like,
Yeah, like our Blue Angels stuff.
Yeah.
I know you see our posts and stuff. So that kind of was cool. I'll be honest with you. I think the biggest starstruck thing was probably doing Luke Combs. I thought that was just because I love Luke Combs' music.
Real quick, I don't mean to monopolize this kind of thing, but
no, you're fine.
A friend of mine, Brett, is really close and friends with Luke Combs, and
oh, that's cool.
I don't know anything about Luke Combs other than that he's friends with him and likes his music or whatever.
Yeah.
Well, I went and hung out with Brett in Nashville, and we were.
Don't you tell me you didn't know who he was.
I didn't before I met Brett. Like, I didn't know who Luke Combs was, whatever. But it was funny. I got talking to him. And again, I get in that screen printer mindset of like business owner of like, oh, you are friends with Luke Combs. Like, and I looked him up and he's famous or whatever. I was like, how do we get to print his merch? Basically, I start like drawing.
Oh, yeah, you got
and then I said something to him. I was like, we have to do a Luke Combs his hair shirt. Like, we just have to call it.
That's good.
Like, and I thought, like, instant in my mind, I was like, it should have one of those hair comb switchblades on the front. And then just say, like, Luke Combs, and then in smaller print, like, his hair, and has, like, the switchblade knife.
I don't think he has any.
I know, but it was funny because that's what he responded with. He was like,
I know. I
he
was
has
like, wait
no
a minute.
hair. And I was just like, that's the funny part about it. Is like, Luke Combs his hair.
Yeah, that's funny.
And it obviously never happened, but it just made me think of like the Luke Combs his hair shirt idea.
I think the coolest thing is just because of being a huge fan, and they opened up category 10, and we got to be able to do like the project stuff on that before they opened. And they sent me over the sheet of our designs with everybody else's designs, and he did like a gold Sharpie check mark on ours. And it was just like a huge moment. Like, I like teared up and got emotional.
That's awesome.
I was like, we finally it was like, again, full circle because I listened to their music and super big, like, Morgan Wallen fan, and like, Franklin, Tennessee, last night we let the liquor talk, I mean, because I'm a huge Theo Vaughn fan, so he always makes fun of that. Theo, yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, I'm just really big into country music, and like just being able to be a part of that was probably one of the biggest moments of my career.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So,
that's cool. I'm probably missing so many, but yeah, it's just
you're gonna think about it later, and you're like, "Fuck, why didn't I say that one?"
Good one.
totally
next one.
understand.
If you could snap your fingers and change one major thing about your shop, what would it be?
Oh,
That's a hard one.
that is a hard one.
Seth, get thinking about it. You're next.
I mean, maybe some magic, just like you have all the employees that you need and they're awesome. Like that.
That was. Hey, you ready? Fuck! I should have thought of that, because that's what I was actually thinking. I was like,
Dude, if that button, I
It's
would've
hard.
already
It's hard.
smashed that button 1,000 times.
It's hard.
I think that's the hardest part of owning a
people.
shop, being in business is the people and the employees. I mean, when you have good ones, it's unbelievable, and they help propel you and get you to the next level. And when you're missing some gaps in your arsenal, it's tough. And we recently went through that, kind of losing a couple people, and we're back staffed. I'd say relatively good now. Through some trials, but I mean, man, it's tough. I mean,
It
it's
is.
tough.
What is that saying? And Dylan, you probably know because he's got like a knack for that. But it's like, what is it like? You can insert anything. It's like screen printing is easy, but the people are hard. Is that what it is? You know what I'm saying?
I know what you're saying.
You know what I'm saying? It's
the funny
like,
thing is, we were just talking about this morning. And
but it goes with like anything.
This is a separate thing of like, we have an opportunity to work with this company locally to basically which is awesome. They were like, we will give you unlimited amount of work that you want. Like, basically, we're in talks of like, hey, you will never be slow again as long as you want to not be.
That's awesome.
Because they have such a niche thing that they have their own print shop, but they have way more than they can handle. And it's this whole thing. Well, anyway, we got talking about it of like, okay, let's slow down. Like, this could be a pipe dream. Like, it all sounds nice until you start doing it and you realize like, oh, it sucks. And this is another thing, whatever. Yeah. And I got to saying, well, I'm like, yeah, like if the profitability of this though works out, it's like, oh, we can get, one press that just does these jobs all day long. And we'll have to hire 3 people for this press or whatever. And this and this. And Brian turns to me and looks and he's like, yeah, but we'll have to deal with 3 more people. And I'm just like, 100%. Oh yeah, fuck, I forgot about that.
Yeah,
that was great in theory.
And that is why we started collabing with other print shops.
I think that's the move right there. Yeah, where you can do that. That's really cool. You're able to.
I forget that you guys weren't on when we first started talking, but yeah, we're talking about collabing with other print shops. So I collabed with my buddy Anthony at Stitches, and it's just because of growth and people. Right. And infrastructure and all that stuff. And I'm like, we can get all these jobs and it's fine and dandy, like Dylan said, but now you've got to get more people. You got to buy more power because, he's 3-phase and then you got to get more and all this stuff. So I was like, had this idea where I'm like, why don't we just collab with people? Like, why don't we just do that and find good people to work with?
I think the way of the future for our industry is, before you used to talk all the time about, oh, well, we're going to have growth this year. Let's start looking at X equipment, or let's look at more floor space, or this or that or the other thing. And I think more and more with COVID and the way the last 2 years have been, that have kind of put a bad taste in people's mouth, is like, it's almost like that talk that you have with your friends where you're like, hey, you want to start a commune in the middle of the woods and we'll just all take care of each other. It's kind of like, we're doing that as print shops now, where it's like, before, like, say 2019, we would have never thought of like, oh, well, I've got this much work, but this much work is coming in. I'm going to farm this out and just stay where I'm at. Like, I'm safe. I'm good. I don't have to worry about more people. I don't have to worry about more expenses that I can't afford. I'm just going to farm this out. We always would have been like, nope, fuck it. More space, more equipment, more this, more that.
100%.
And now it's like, oh, we learned that the world can shut off, and we learned that we can have years of without like a 45-degree angle growth.
Yeah.
And it's like, how about I just use the equipment and the people that I have and the shit that's paid for and the less overhead. And if I get a job that I can't handle, I'll still make some money on, and I can tell the customer yes, but I'm going to farm it out to somebody else. So I personally think that's the way of the future. And that's what we've discussed internally is like, hey, let's bring in as much work as possible. But when we get overloaded, let's just send it to somebody we trust.
It's the best thing I've ever done.
Yeah.
The headache, the stress. I can go home at night and eat my dinner and kiss my kid goodnight and everything else.
And then go back to the shop till 2 a.m.
Dude, so many nights of doing that. I bet you guys over at Twine, I mean, y'all understand that. I mean, growing and having to be up there till late at night, and you're like, man, I really just want to hang out with my kids and my wife and stuff, but damn, I got to print all freaking weekend. It's like, get some help, find some trustworthy folks. And
thankfully, we don't have days like that anymore. But I mean, we've all done it where, like, in our first 5-6 years in business, it's like, getting pizza at 8 p.m. and then work until 11, 12, going home and be like, well, I'll see you guys at 9 a.m.
Yeah,
and it's like,
well, having no employees. Yeah, I mean, it's like me, my dad, and my sister, and it's like that's it. It's me and my dad are like loading, unloading shirts, and I'm like yelling at my sister at still in high school at the time, like, make sure they're not burning. And she's like, I don't know what I'm doing, and it's just like a whole thing. But I have like no money, I can't afford even one employee at $11 an hour. Like, so I totally understand those days.
If you were a stripper, what would your gimmick be?
Oh, dude, I'd be just inking myself. I'd be just covered in it. Just a Jackson Pollock painting up there, just getting weird.
Okay. All right. The funny thing is how fast you jumped at that. Almost makes me think you do that.
I mean, our art school is a weird place.
It hasn't been done.
I for some reason on the very bottom it doesn't say TM after graphics. It says OF.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like when
Love it,
Screech
dude.
was up on the satellite stage,
Just pulling fucking white out of the bucket.
Up next is Trilock, and you're
Which
like,
is-
oh god, oh, yeah.
That's why he has those fucking special wipes, is because it gets the ink off his whole body.
That's exactly right. Yeah, it's off of everywhere. So,
Oh my god.
All right,
dude.
next. Seth,
I don't know if I can top that.
Oh, dude.
you guys could
I
be
don't
a
know.
tag team.
I know. Well, I was letting him go next. I was gonna let him finish it. Go ahead.
Work the glitter in.
Hey, there we go. All right. So you got glitter. So we have to mix screen printing with stripping.
You don't have to make screen printing. You personally, what would your gimmick be on stage?
Dude, I don't
You
know.
could
man.
be
I
you could be the stunt man.
Dude, I could freaking shake that thing. So I don't know. Yeah, I could probably be like a stunt man or something, get up on the pole, do some crazy stuff. Yeah, I could do that. I think that would be good. I mean, that's all I can really think of, you know? Typically I'm super like witty and stuff, but yeah, I'm just thinking maybe I'm going to be more in the stunt world of getting up there and doing some twirls and shit.
you got that
Diving.
sweet alien mask too, so that could be a couple
Yeah.
Oh, dude, I could be the weird fetish stripper.
yeah, just
Yeah, there we go.
time,
Yeah, yeah.
You get
Like, here-
beamed up.
Yeah. You're like, I'm like, hey, does anybody want to get beamed up tonight? Yeah. So it's like, you know, I love
All
it.
right, on that note, I'll see you guys later. Thank you.
we gotta go.
Hey, and then tune into my OF later. Yeah.
Well, in all serious, thank you guys very much for getting on with me today. We got in some really good talk about the sim process stuff, but also just a ton of, stupid random shit that we all have to deal with every day. So
Yeah.
I appreciate you guys taking the time out of your day and doing this with me.
Oh,
So
man, super
thank you.
fun.
Thank you for having us.
Anytime.
Yeah. Huge honor to be a part of it too, Dylan.
Well,
Just to be
again,
here.
you were on once before, but you're fun, Seth. I like having you on.
Well, I just appreciate, you taking the time to reach out to me. So,
Oh, for
and to
sure.
meet cool people like,
Hey, and I have my new setup too. I got my new background. I
I was about to
changed
say
things
that looks
up,
pretty
and
sick.
Ah.
Man.
I'm not in my yellow chair,
Well,
which
I
is
wanted to
sad.
comment too. Is that a freaking squeegee pinata? Because that is.
Yeah, it's actually called the Printata.
Oh my god, that's even. I want one of those. Where did you acquire such a?
My friend Liam, who used to run the print, right here, the flood pool page, custom makes them. He's only made a few.
Amazing.
And so there's a few lucky people that have them. It's funny because it's the whole,
incredible.
it's like a whole squeegee. Like I have it jammed in this corner, but it is one of my like prized possessions.
Yeah,
I
that's
do love
really
it.
cool. I noticed that right off the jump, and I was like, I've got to say something.
I have a lot of like random shit. The funny thing is, I wanted to mention it too because for years, people have sent me like random trinkets and stuff that listen to the show, and they send me these notes and stuff, and I keep everything. So I have like boxes of stuff that people have sent me. Some stuff I can't hang up because it's just too weird or something.
is that some
I have-
Woodford? Is that
I
Woodford
have a
Reserve
bunch
right
of
there?
stuff down here.
Yeah.
This
What is that?
is
Woodford?
Gentleman
Oh.
Jack that
Oh, okay.
There it
Gotcha.
is, Tennessee.
that Multicraft
Yeah, it
Daddy
is.
sent me because he etched the logo, Upstate logo, on the other side.
Nice.
And it was a thank you from Multicraft.
Yeah,
That's a
dude,
fun
that's
one.
sick.
I have a ton of stuff. Like I got stuff from like Nick Wood did this Do Epic Shit, Champagne. I got the Creepy Alien. I mean, I
Dude,
have
shout out
stuff
Nick.
everywhere.
He's cool as shit.
Dude, I gotta
Custom pen.
get one of those shirt show flat bills, bro.
I'll get you
How do I get one of those?
Speaking of, little teaser, there are custom shirt show hats coming out pretty soon. So pay attention to those.
Love that.
Real
Yeah,
soon.
I'm gonna have to snag one of those.
Yeah, I got a little bit of everything. I got this sweet pin I found that's super old. It says I love my American printer. That's my favorite. But yeah, anyway, thank you guys for being on.
Yeah, dude.